What's up, guys? I disconnected there because of the internet being a little weird. We had a snowstorm here yesterday, so I'm expecting the internet to be a little weird. Okay, well, while I wait for you guys to come back, I'm just gonna go over the Discord really quick and just let everyone know. Okay. Control C. There we go. All right. Sorry about that, guys. There we go. Okay. Sorry about that, guys. Yeah, snowstorm here. Kind of messed up the internet. Okay, so Noah, what's up, man? Barge Builders. Hey, how you doing? Drake? What's up? Jeet, what's up? Yeah, I think my internet was just a little wonky there for a moment because of the snowstorm that we had yesterday. Kind of a bomber, man. But yeah, just a quick recap of what I'm preparing for with Bitcoin. If you're not already in an existing long position right now from this SFP pattern, then I wouldn't be jumping in on one. I'll be waiting for, I'd recommend structure. We have double bottom posture right now coming in off this previous point of control, off this previous high, and in this local demand zone. So we have reason to bounce here. Our structure right now, this is our key level right here that we want to have broken for this double bottom posture. The technical target for the double bottom suggests that we just basically reach these highs again. But if we breach these highs, then the next area that I'll be watching out for rejection is definitely up here at 107.6, where we have the supply zone, we have an order block, we have the 200-day EMA, where we have a lot of algorithmic bots respond to that area, and we have the value area high for previous range that we're in right now. And if I were to zoom out on that, just so you can see where the value area came from on the daily here, it's this guy right over here that we were ranging in for 55 days, and we bounced off we deviated from it a little bit, but we bounced off of the value area low, and we're coming up towards that value area high right as we speak. If we breach past that, then we'll likely hit our daily SFP target at 111K, where we have this daily order block in our face right here. And the ceiling of that order block is at 109.3. Or sorry, the floor of it. But yeah, so Bitcoin's just cooling down for potential continuation. That's basically what I'm trying to say. But if we do have structural evidence that we're going to reverse from here, it's actually a good spot to prepare for shorts and get acceptance back inside this local value area. But we don't have any structural evidence that we're going to come down here yet, other than the loss of momentum. And that's not really enough for me to tell people that we're coming down to these lows. So if you want a better position for a short, we got to sit on our hands and wait to see if we get up here, or if we get to that daily order block level up here. But yeah, the more we range here, the healthier it is for Bitcoin to have that continuation. But that's Bitcoin. Nothing too exciting today. It just looks like we're at a demand zone floor to prepare for a potential range from here, potentially to this high or to this high. And they'll ping pong back and forth between this area maybe. But yeah, if I find a setup similar to what we saw like earlier, that something really transparent, screaming at me, telling me that we should be jumping into a long, I'll definitely let you guys know. Or if we jump into a short, I'll let you guys know as well. Wagner thinks we might squeeze between the 200 and the 50-day again before we jump again. Yeah, we could get ping ponged there for sure. Like that's we have confluence to range here as well. This I personally hate it when that happens. You guys know I'm pretty vocal about that. But yeah, I normally will try to avoid trading when the EMAs are that tightly bound towards each other and we're in between it. So I don't like trading in between it. Unless there's something really clear, maybe at the top or the bottom side of it telling us that we're going to break below it or above it. I will try not to usually trade between it. Hey, Constantine, how you doing, man? Yeah, long time no see. What do you guys want to look at today? So we went through Bitcoin. Constantine's here, so we might be looking at hype. But yeah, back in action. Yeah, I got my... Yeah, the live just kind of cut out for a second because the internet's been a little bit weird. Might be a slow day for traders. Yeah, there wasn't really anything screaming short. We had that bearish change of character here. We had the loss of momentum. But it all happened like where this confirmed. It all happened like basically right at the demand zone. So you wouldn't jump into that feeling safe. This is a spot where you should be preparing for longs, honestly. But the technical target, or at least a barrier that you should be worried about, is this local high. And if we jump in on the break of this high, then you're going in on like a 1-to-1 risk to reward ratio. So you'd rather be jumping in on like the lows, maybe a sweep of an SFP like we had right here. And so far we have an SFP that's still yet to hit its technical target. We swept like this low right here. The candle closed within range, validating as an SFP. The technical target is this high. We hit the 5-minute order block, causing it to pull back. But we also just tapped into a lower side order block that we're kind of bouncing off of right now. So we're kind of just maintaining this internal momentum, making our way towards that technical target where I expect for us to pull back again after we hit our head off that technical target and this mini like 3-minute supply zone and the VWAP here. And that pullback could give you a stop loss suggestion for when we get the break of structure to start targeting these highs again. So if you're not in on here, you're waiting for a healthy pullback after we break the highs or just prior to breaking those highs. So you can use it as a strong low as your stop loss guard from here or here. And then you find out if the risk to reward ratio is worth it after it confirms. But if you're going to be jumping in on longs at these highs, then you'd prefer to have the VWAP on your side. So you want to have price action to break this simultaneously. But this is not a trade that I personally would take. You can understand the behavior of an asset and know where it's likely going to go, but you should use that information to hold existing trades if the risk to reward ratio is worth it, and not jump into new trades if the risk to reward ratio is not worth it. I just tripped over my words there a bit. No hype requests anymore. You only trade Bitcoin now because you got better. It's better for high volume trades. Yeah, man. Yeah, Bitcoin's the way. I think altcoins are great for some trading setups, of course. Like Solana is great for like SFP setups, and altcoins are great for investing. But I think Bitcoin's the best for trading. It's most reliable, no slippage. At least unless you're dealing with a low liquidity exchange, and it's very, very predictable. And at least you know if they're going to have a flash crash on this, that your stop loss is likely going to be honored and not dodged. Blake, what's up, man? How you doing? Can we look at objective? Okay, so we got some requests coming in. Mazen saying that there's a CME gap below us. Yes, there is. And we pumped a little bit over the weekend, so there's going to be a CME gap below us. Luckily, it was a low volume weekend, so the CME gap isn't too big. But I have never used the CME gap as part of my trading before. It's cool confluence, like knowing, like let's say for example you're trading into the direction of where CME gap is, but I'll never use it as part of my decisions. Injective from Sky Tie. We have an injective chart, but I haven't looked at injective since October 6th. Let's see what we got. 1 hour. Let's close this alert tab. Yeah, look, last time we were looking at it, we were preparing for a drop around here. Loss of momentum we had shortly afterwards. And here we are. We're at $7.93. Man, this thing's bled a lot since last time we looked at it. The last time we were looking at it was around $14. So I was a holder of injective, but I'm not anymore. I believe it was here where I was a holder for a brief moment from $9 to 40 some dollars. And it's because I had I told everyone the information, but I basically had insider information on how that they were preparing to market. So we did a video warning everyone's going to go to $40, but once it gets there, prepare to get out. I went a little bit past that, but okay, we have, let's delete some of this noise. We have lots of noise here that we don't need. Let's just get rid of it all. Come on, man. There we go. Yeah, some of this is not going to be helpful. This will be helpful for us when we get up there again. We had these lows. Swept and taken already from this crazy wick, but we came down and kind of honored it as if it was still unmitigated, which is pretty cool. Right now, we're in this descending kind of awkward regression trend. Zoom in on the hourly. Give me inverse head and shoulders kind of vibes, but when you see an inverse head and shoulders, the posture like this, you kind of want to make sure that the liquidity is still stacked above you. That's what makes inverse head and shoulders usually play out so well, is that when they're built, usually is after coming in from a downtrend, stacking more and more liquidity, right? You want the right shoulder to kind of behave the same way where it stacks more liquidity, so we can use that buy side liquidity to help pump the asset much higher. But in this case, we kind of swept these two highs where all this liquidity was when building this right shoulder. So when that kind of crap happens, I trust it a lot less. If it's more horizontal resistance, not ascending resistance like we got, I'd trust it a lot more. But right now we have that ascending kind of posture. Doesn't mean we won't come up there, but I'm not going to be looking at this like it's going to be respected as an inverse head and shoulders. But we can look at this internally, and we can see that we have this cup and handle structure, and that could lead us up higher for sure. So right now we're building the flag part of a cup and handle right now as we speak. And we zoom in. We can see we got this demand zone that's holding up the flag part of the injective. Wish you knew about that injective call. Oh man. It was a while ago. It was a long time ago. But yeah, it did a call. We did a YouTube video with David, one of our coaches, about it. I could pull up the video if you guys need to see it. But yeah, basically I was warning people because their marketing strategy was to get YouTubers. They approached me too. Instead of doing it, I just told everyone. But yeah, they approached YouTubers saying hey, if you buy this much, we'll match you this much. And under the condition that you promote it and on this specific date. And then everyone on that, you could see, I was basically made the video a day or two before, a week before the date. that everyone's going to start posting, and then you can start seeing all the videos start flooding in and it start pumping Injective like crazy. And yeah, and we did the math on how far we thought we could go based on like the YouTubers that we knew, and we expected around like $40, and it got to like 53. 53. So it was a quick in and out trade for me, but it's not traditionally how I do my trades. I usually use structure, but I was using news for once. And we did have structure too on Injective, defying that continuation because we jumped in on the bull flag. But yeah, right now, Injective is building like this pennant structure. We're getting close to what's called the apex point, which is right here. So we're going to get squeezed into a decision soon. And usually the side with the most liquidity wins. So if we break to the upside, it's usually because there's more liquidity above us. And like based on the macro positioning, I would just by the structure alone, I would say that there's likely more liquidity like resting above these highs to draw price action near to go get it. But we could just easily come back down, take out this low, and get squeezed into this descending triangle structure instead. So jump in on the confirmation and don't just assume direction. But statistically, these usually break to the upside. And the momentum-based target, if we're grabbing the momentum target, from the top of the structure to the last point of consolidation, you click and drag to the support level, and it suggests $9.08. Me, personally, I'd be watching this local high for a sweep and a return back down, or the 50-day EMA. I'll leave this on there in case it plays out. But yeah, you gotta wait for the bullish change of character. The squeeze here might allow you to use like the 5-minute. Right now, the key level is really high. It's like way up here. So if you take this, you'd want to see you'd either want to try to take the sweep of the lows to front run the break of this structure, because trading off a break of a trend line is kind of sketch. You'd want to have the bullish change of character or the positioning be alongside you. And if we have a break of this high, then you would want to see this act as a form of support, the value area high acts as a form of support. So you expect that trend bound move up. And a late entry, you could use the low here as your stop loss guard in that kind of scenario. But yeah, this is our apex point here. We're likely going to break out prior to reaching this red box. That's Injective. I hope that helps you out. Bitcoin. I'm pulling back a little bit. So it's a scam, no good tech at all. I wouldn't say that. Injective might have good tech to it, but I just know that their marketing method before was a little sketch. It was around this time, right about here. It's an influencer marketing kind of play. But yeah, it was around this moment here that I was told about it here, told about the date during this time, and then we all kind of like jumped in, followed that wagon a bit until we had the warning sign that we're going to fall. We lost the momentum up here with this ascending double top, right? And we lost it, used it as resistance, confirmed lower with a massive candle. And that was the moment that should have warned everyone to GTFO, like get out. But right now it's hopefully it's building this larger double bottom posture, and this could be the potential front run to that neckline break. But that's a big ask right now. We basically need Bitcoin to be at like 125K again for us to see Injective, maybe around those levels. Okay, so next request was AVAX and XMR. Kyle, may I ask for T on XMR, please? Yeah, we can do that. Hi, Kyle. Just wondering what rules do you use to identify structure and confirm tops and bottoms if those rules differ from between timeframes? Thanks in advance. Yeah, so it depends on whether or not we're ranging or if you're talking about macro. But ranging is pretty simple. You'd look for a value area that comes from, if you want really standard rules to tell you when you can pull a fixed range volume profile, you find a supply, you look for a bullish change of character, and then you look for a bearish change of character. And then you have a range. Same thing for the opposite. You find like demand, and you look for a bearish change of character, then a bullish change of character, then you establish a range, and you can pull a fixed range during that moment. There are times where you can pull it sooner than that, but this is a really good format for anyone who's just like learning valley areas and ranging and how to identify ranges and demand zones. And like learning about supply and demand is a very easy subject, but I would recommend first learning what a change of character is, what a break of structure is before jumping into that subject. And then once you establish a range, you have a valley area high and you have a valley area low. And then you look for, you ignore the changes of character within it and you focus on the bearish ones at the top and the bullish ones at the bottom because they're more likely to rotate to the opposite side of the valley area during that moment. Right? So that's the kind of rules that I use to help determine. And I also prefer a break of momentum as well. Like this is momentum here, broken, bearish change of character. At top valley area, jump into short, use strong highs or stop loss guard, target the low. Right? We have internal momentum here that was broken. We had quite a bit of confluences stacking during this moment, so I jumped in on it prior to the break of more broad momentum, which is not something that I usually do. But yeah. Within a range, I find it's super simple. Macro, I find it super simple. But sometimes when it's trying to determine the end of a longer term, like 4-hour, 6-hour trend, it's a little bit harder. You normally want to look at like larger demand zones, larger supply zones. Like there's just 2 supply zones, for example, where you would prepare for like a 4-hour opposing change of character. And that would tell you that the trend's likely going to start to end in a more of a macro environment. So it all depends on what kind of trader you want to be, man. If you're a swing trader, you're going to have to depend on like the hourly and up to determine the end of like longer term swing trends. But if you're trading ranges, you normally have to depend on like the 15-minute and lower to determine entries to try to catch these like micro moves from the high to lows that could honestly make you an equal amount of money to a trade that would last like weeks. You can have a trade that lasts you a few hours. And as long as you're managing your risk properly, you do pretty well. Just letting that stack. Kyle, thanks for the stream time energy. No problem, man. Thank you for jumping on. Okay, let's jump on to the next request. We got, and I do have a course on this. Like, if you join the community, I have pretty much a lesson on a massive majority of stuff that you're going to learn through trading, and I have it organized in the fashion of which you should learn it. So from beginning, how to create an account, to the end, having at least 5 strategies under your belt. Yeah. So TA on XMR. XMR is a good idea, actually, to look at that because privacy is kind of trending right now with what's going on in Australia and all these other countries with social media and stuff. So I've noticed that VPNs activity has gone up 1,001% in the past like 2 months because of all the craziness going on around the world. So I can see like Monero and Zcash and any privacy asset doing well right now. So Monero, where are we? Let's look at it on USDT. I guess we can go on KuCoin. It's not my favorite. Okay, so let's zoom out. Okay, so it's been a super long time since we looked at this thing. But macro, massive rounded bottom. We had a bit of a parabolic curve, but then we went steady with the pace of buyers here. And we're still maintaining that, which is pretty impressive. I don't think this is the origin of the asset. I know it says it is, but I don't think it is. I remember it being a lot lower at some point. Right now, on the daily, we had a bearish SFP. Let's delete this. We don't need that anymore. The bearish SFP target is suggesting that we're going to come down to this low right here. The barriers that we have that oppose against that are the daily order block right here, the uptrending momentum right here, and these previous highs. So this is the technical target, but we have a barriers that start here. So what you got to do in scenarios like that, you set your alarms just prior to the barrier, so you're not babysitting it the entire time. You're only babysitting it when it's appropriate. But around this time, you got to see what kind of reactions you might get, like an opposing change of character on like the hourly time frame, for example, would warn you that we could start coming back up towards your entry. And the entry level is right here. Let's zoom in on the 15-minute. On the 15-minute, it's showing us the SFP as an ascending double top. This is the higher high. This is the strong low. And we did just break it here. So it has flipped bearish on the 15-minute. It has flipped bearish on the hourly as well in the same exact area. So far the structure does suggest that we're at least coming down towards that daily SFP target for Monero. But yeah, this is the daily order block. It's in line with this local demand zone, so we definitely got to watch here for it to potentially get a strong bounce. So if I were to draw pathing and just prepare around these areas here for reversal. We have momentum here that we can watch and monitor the pace of the sellers. So if we break momentum, get that bullish change of character off the demand zone, it could be a good long opportunity up into this supply right here that just got built. You just got to watch the VWAP along the way and maybe even target these highs again. But if we hit the highs, that's the invalidation point for the daily SFP, and we know we're not likely going to start heading down there as a result of the SFP, which I believe is right here. I can mark it here for a second. There's our SFP target. Zoom in. Yeah, it's these lows. But yeah, that's Monero. Nothing much more to report on other than that. Congrats to any holders of Monero. This thing being at the all-time high, that's pretty sweet. It just sucks that once we get there, we're swing failure patterning off of it. And this could be if we lost this momentum, then this would be a really good demand zone for the macro. Like 240 is a good floor value right now. Let's zoom in on, let's go to the next request. What else do you guys want to look at? We looked at, AVAX is the next one. Okay, so we'll look at Avalanche. Let's move Bitcoin back to, the Bitcoin chart back to Bitcoin. Here we go. And let's pull up AVAX. I would like to show you guys the progress of my mining so far. It's doing pretty good. It will make me more active on Dogecoin charting and Litecoin charting for anyone that's interested in that. So you might see more signals coming from me on Dogecoin and Litecoin now that that account is starting to grow from the mining income. We had this supply zone here that we were worried about with AVAX. We actually had a head and shoulders off of it as support and then came down. So this wasn't really respected very often, or at all, really. Still barrier of concern, of course, but you can delete that. We're getting acceptance into this previous valley area here. We used it as support, resistance, support. It was our supply creation when we lost it as support, resistance, support. So we're kind of got acceptance into the valley area during this moment right here. When we come in, we break in, and then we get the higher high. That was the moment where we got proper acceptance into this valley area, and at that point you would start targeting the valley area high. Internally we have lost momentum though, and we use that momentum as resistance alongside the VWAP and the point of control. So we had lots of confluence here to drive the price down after we lost this area, and I'm expecting it to revisit this uptrending momentum and confluence with this previous valley area low, where this regression trend target would be, right? Whenever you see a regression trend break, you look at the order flow and visualize the liquidity. You can always, of course, authenticate that liquidity by looking at the liquidation heat maps, but they typically, when they confirm as resistance like this, they typically have a target of their low. So I'm expecting price action for AVAX to get to 17.45 before we prepare for a potential reversal at this valley area low. So we need to wait for the bullish change of character around here, and then look left to see if there's any barriers like the supply zone that was just created, and start targeting the valley area high again. Macro picture. Yeah, we're building a bit of a pennant too. So hopefully this breaks to the upside, but these statistically break to the downside too. So if we we break this and we have it act as resistance and lose that valley area, then this is the technical target. Similar to that regression trend target being the low, you target this low as your conservative target. The non-conservative target is based on grabbing the mast, finding the last area of consolidation like this. And you click and drag from the breakout point for the last retested support. And sometimes these go really deep. In this case, it does not. Yeah, it's pretty much the same as the conservative target. But that's AVAX. It does look like it's trying to break momentum, so I'm more bullish than bearish on this thing, despite the little pennant that we're building. We have this massive downtrending momentum here that we're kind of breaching as we speak. And that regression trend target is going to look like a retest to that momentum. And hopefully we get the higher high and then, break out of this valley area and break out of this structure to the upside, and then start going after liquidity from the upside, which would give you a target of $24 in the bullish sense. Yeah. So you got to play things internally to prepare for that external move. So we need a break of this 4-hour high right here. And for us not to get too far down and to acceptance below this momentum line. This is it here. You need a 4-hour full body candle close above here just before you would think about targeting around $24. But that's AVAX. Bitcoin still, trying to find support off this local demand. Let's change this up because we don't need this depicted like this anymore, right? It's now local demand, which started off right here, ends around here, and our long zone. There we go. There we go. Update that part. We have a demand zone here with the confluence of yeah, lots of confluence here actually. Previous value area high, demand zone, previous day VWAP reset, and the daily order block is the ceiling of a daily order block. So if this place fails here, then the confluence around here is even better. But if we find a reason to jump in along here, we will have to watch this as a barrier along the way up and then target up here. Constantine, you're in an active short. Did you talk about the potential downside already? Was on a call. The potential downside comes from us losing this demand zone that we're in right now. So we have this previous high, we have the point of control, we have this local demand. If we break this neckline, then I would be cautious about your short, right? If we'd have a bullish change of character, and we'll likely have the VWAP confluence to bring us up to 107.3. While being mindful of these local highs. If you're in a short, what you want to have happen is a full body candle close like below this point of control and below these wicks, so you can have that proper break of structure instead of a swing failure pattern that's invalidating that move down right now. Basically to invalidate the move down, you'd want to have an SFP or a bullish change of character, and we got the SFP. So we need to have a break of structure below this point of control, so we have the opportunity to have the point of control to activate a resistance and bring us down to here. But if you are looking for a take profit on your short, Constantine, I'll be watching this like a hawk at 103.8 area with this daily order block, local demand, value area high, previous day VWAP. So we could get an aggressive bounce here. But yeah, that's pretty much it. So we went through AVAX, we went through XMR, we went through Injective, we went through Bitcoin. Anything else you guys want to check out? Let's see. How long before they come where they close? Oh, and Wagner talking about the 50-day and 200-day EMA. When do they start to cross? They do only update daily, unless you have like a you can have it update based on the active candle, and you'd see these like bend and curve based on like the active candle, but like most algorithmic bots don't use the an evolving EMA like that. So after each day that passes, the 50 is going to catch up the fastest, get closer and closer here. It would probably take about, if we were to stay right here and not go lower, let's say we stayed within this range, it'd probably take about 4 to 5 days for these to come in contact with each other. But as we get closer and closer to the EMAs, they're taking account of the average of where we're currently at, so it'll move slower towards the price action if the price action moves towards it. So that answer is kind of dictated by like how well Bitcoin performs during this moment. If we end up coming way back down here, then they're going to speed up, getting closer to the price action. They'll cross faster. We are down here, I think, 4 to 5 days before they cross. But Bitcoin lately, if you look at whenever we get close to crossing, we have our massive run, right? Close to crossing, massive run. So it might be, you can watch it this time around, see if it happens again that way. Belleron wants Bitcoin to 95K. Karma? Yeah, we could look at Karma. Karma's doing pretty well. So Karma, we broke out this massive double bottom. I was concerned about this supply because I know that some people accumulate, like a lot of people accumulated here. We lost some whales, which is good for the longevity of the project. We don't want people controlling the price action in critical moments, right? So we lost some whales here. We have this downtrending momentum, built a bit of a falling wedge structure. The technical target is this high at 15.99. We have an airdrop coming out soon, and with how Karma does its airdrops, it creates permanent pumps in the price action. It's a buyback, then airdrop. It's not take from the liquidity and airdrop it like most crypto projects do. So it's not taking from investors, it's giving to investors. But yeah, that airdrop normally induces a 10% pump, and the buyback hasn't happened on it yet. So we're likely going to see it come up to around 11 cents over the next week just from the airdrop system. But yeah, quick pump. But yeah, when it's fully listed on CMC, it'll open up some more doorways for partnerships and let that thing grow. Thanks, man. You're the GOAT. Appreciate the tip, man. Thanks, bro. Okay. Anything else you guys want to go over? Thanks for the stream. No problem, man. Yeah, for me today, what I want to see is either the opposing bearish reaction here for longs. I don't like the positioning here. This will be a great spot for longs here. But yeah, but right here, this is the key level that if broken would likely bring us to 107. It doesn't look like anyone's got any requests. Let's take a peek at Cardano. Okay, Cardano's kind of doing what we thought it would do. So Cardano, right now as we speak, yeah, we left this valley area. We had this downtrending momentum, the pace of the sellers after confirming the valley area as resistance during this moment. When we came up, retested it, and got the lower low. And we fell down to as low as 48 cents. We broke momentum after having this inverse head and shoulders posture. We mitigated supply, then came down to retest the momentum, building like this bullish flag. And we just hit the local highs. And now we're kind of going to pull back after we grab this liquidity here and mitigate a little bit of this supply. So now we need to update this. So we don't need that there anymore, but we could use it here. Let's go in the 15-minute. 15-minute, yeah, we lost this momentum. We had a failure to create a higher high, double top, which is bearish. I prefer them to take the high before coming down, but we get that bearish double top. We flipped bearish truly on the 15-minute when we broke this level. Because we didn't create that higher high, this never became a strong low. So this was all like an internal break of structure. So when this broke, because we had the proper pullback here, 2 consecutive candle pullback here, this became the low that we needed to have broken. And now we are kind of building this Batman head and shoulders. And I expect for it to, we're at like a local demand, but this is like a regression trend target that I would look at this as. We can come down to these lows and probably just come right back down to this demand zone if we're going to be targeting this. So yeah, look for longs. Me personally, I'll be looking for structural longs around here. But Cardano's kind of a slippery fish. Once it starts a trend, like it's trying to, which would basically it initiated a trend during that moment once we got that higher high. Because we pulled back, retested this break of momentum. We shifted directions and we shifted the momentum. Now we should be focusing on the pace of the buyers, like this. So we might end up undercutting this. And that's what I meant when I said it's like a bit of a slippery fish. It kind of like, once it goes, sometimes it's unsafe or hard to get into the continuation on Cardano. But what we really want to see is acceptance of this value area so we can start rotating to that value area high at 68 cents. But we have that 50-day EMA right in our face too. What about Zcash? Zcash is unstoppable right now. I tried shorting that guy and I barely got out break even. So Zcash. Zoom out on this thing. I'll show you that short that I took. So I zoom out on the daily. We had an SFP on the daily from here to here. And it gave us a crazy target of this low right here. Right? And we found on the lower time frames of like a good way to get in. So we took it. But it got a little wonky and crazy after that. I'm trying to find the exact spot that we jumped in on it. I remember seeing it was a wild like whipsaw kind of candle. Wasn't that? Either way, yeah. Right now, it is consolidating at all-time highs. The longer it consolidates at the all-time high, the healthier. It'll create a good reset. Similar to what happened with XRP, you want to have happen with Zcash. The narrative right now is privacy assets. So I can see, Monero is doing well. Zcash is doing well. So I'll look in that sector, guys, and see if like what could be good for a potential opportunity for a buy. Make sure you do your due diligence on those, though. You don't want to get your butt kicked here. This one was fully mitigated, so I'm going to adjust it to this leftover demand here. We're coming down to approach the demand now. We could pull a fixed range volume profile from here to here. We can include this in our pull when we come down here for a bit. But right now, it'll be conflicting data. So we have just swept this low. I'm on the 30-minute time frame. We just swept this low as an SFP. The technical target for this 30-minute SFP is right here. So the value area high. So right now it's trying to return to there, but I'm not really convinced. If I were to jump in on SFP, I'd prefer it to be like at the bottom or the top of a value area, or at like an all-time high. It's kind of mid-range. So if you're looking for longs in this thing, I'd be patient. Sit on your hands. Wait around here with this 30-minute order block. Strong volume node right here. Lots of interest for buyers and volume here. And this value area low. Demand. Lots of reasons for a bounce here. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4 areas of confluence. Plus by then you should have a deviation of the value area. I mean the VWAP. So just got to wait for the structural evidence of support, which is just the bullish change of character. And then you can start targeting the value area high again. And just watch the pace of the sellers. That might lead to an undercut of the value area high, which is this trend line right here. You can use the order books to help determine whether or not there actually are sellers waiting here or not. Right? And it will update alongside the price action. Trust me. So just check, see if there's a massive sell wall or not. But SFP, I'm not taking it. And I don't recommend you taking it either. But I'll be curious to see next time we look at the chart here if this SFP hits this target before hitting its invalidation point. Is that, the POC just evolved to this volume peak. You treat this like a point of control here too, guys. But yeah, that is Zcash. I hope that helps you out. This thing's been on a tear. I'd be careful shorting this thing until it loses its macro momentum, which right now I'd dictate as this area right here. This momentum. This is the pace of the buyers since $190. So when we lose that momentum and we have like a larger time frame opposing change of character, then I'd start thinking about shorts. I would stick to the long side of the fence for this guy because you don't want to get your face melted off. Kyle, question please. Aside from visually seeing the retest, is there a way to somehow approximate the time for a long entry for Bitcoin at the level you just mentioned? The level that I just mentioned. Approximate. So I give you like an estimate for the time for a long entry for Bitcoin. So I understand the likelihood of how long it's going to take for us to hit technical targets or for when a break is going to occur based on momentum. But it gives you a big ETA window. It's a lot like having your internet provider coming home to your place and telling you a time when they're going to fix your stuff. They'll give you a window between like 9 a.m. and 5 p.m. We'll be there between 9 a.m. and 5 p.m. The windows in crypto sometimes can be a little more refined than that, but it's based on momentum. So for example, here, let's say I jumped in on this this bullish break of structure here, this continuation structure right here. And after you have your first change of character and then you have the follow-up break of structure, you can start drawing a trend line telling you the pace of the buyers. And that trend line will give you an ETA of how long it'll take for you to hit your target. Like this, from the break of structure, you click and you drag. And by the time we get to the value area high, it says it could take up to like 6 hours, right? And then you take action on closing your trade in about 9 hours. Then here, for example, we're getting squeezed against this area where I prepare for a long. We have this downtrending momentum after we have the bearish change of character, break of structure. And it kind of like tells us from that moment, if we were to maintain momentum, it would take us up to 2 days before we get a trade. And it took about 1 day and 12 hours. Is that what you mean? Like trying to like determine the timing of when something's going to occur? If I wanted to enter a long here, for example, I would need to wait for a break of structure, and then I can start drawing momentum, and then that momentum would tell me after the break of structure how long it should take us to get down to here, about 6 hours after the break of structure. But it's not perfect. We don't always get momentum honored like this. Sometimes you have, for example, like here, you can expect to double bottom. After this double top here, for us to prepare for a long, if you're looking at the value area low, it could take about a day and 15 minutes. But then you have these front run levels that could prevent that from happening. But yeah, man, I think that's what you asked. If that's not what you asked, you can just rephrase your question a little bit. It might be able to help you out. But I use momentum to give me an ETA, but really, you're always on call as a trader. You got to be setting your alarms. Like if you want to jump in on this change of character and you want to be notified when it occurs, either to exit an existing short or to potentially jump into a long, then you set your alarm and you sit on your hands until that alarm occurs, and then you can look at your charts. But yeah, working as a trader is a lot like working on call. If there's nothing on the list, can we look at BNB? We sure can. Keeping a close eye on BNB lately. Okay. Yeah, last time we looked at BNB, we're preparing for potential longs. It looks like. Yeah, it looks like we're looking for potentially to retrace down to this golden pocket, but it never made it. We lost this valley area. Close this. This was the last, long play. Oh, it was really close to sweeping its wick level. Right now, it's testing these previous lows as resistance. It's helpful to mark these as like local resistance or support, just so you're aware of them. Built a little supply zone alongside that right here. What's up, Tradefly? How you doing, man? I can't find my tab. There it is. Okay. All right. So BNB locally is not looking great. Let's see. We're at momentum now. Wick level hourly momentum here. We got a full body candle close below our body range. It's our body range here. Our wick level range. We swept this low, so that usually induces reversals, grabbing local liquidity. It does make you feel like you're trading a little bit on the glass floor when you know there's a level like this that close that hasn't been taken. So if we lose momentum, I can see that being used as sell side liquidity to drive the price down lower. But until then, a lot of people should be preparing for longs after sweeping these levels. Let me just clone this one, put it here. Zoom in on the lower time frames. See how we did. So yeah, we had the legacy SFP occurred right here during this moment. We swept the level, so we staircased it. We didn't invalidate it. We would only invalidate the SFP if we close below it. But these sweeps tend to knock people out. If you're worried about a sweep, I recommend adding this to your tool belt, getting your Fibonacci retracement from the wick to the body, and you could adjust it in a way where you have a 50% level to give yourself breathing room to prevent you from getting stopped out. I've only back tested 101 samples of this, but it does, from what we know on the 15-minute time frame on Bitcoin, it increases your win rate by about 12%. But it hurts your profit factor. So there's a sacrifice of how much you normally gain per trade by using that rule. The technical target has almost already been met. It's this high right here, which also is a supply concern. So we're hitting the floor of that supply right now. So you got to treat this target cautiously for this SFP. But if we break above that, we would have a bullish change of character and you get a target extension. And with this target extension, I'll be looking at this supply zone here. This is an order block here. I know my indicator isn't showing it for some reason, but there's an order block right. Where's my... This is why you got to make sure you understand how the indicators work so you can become the indicator yourself. There we go. So we have an order block right there. So we get that bullish change of character. I'll be watching these lows. And this be my primary target. I could pull a fixed range here as well. This little demand zone here to here. We got a deviation of the valley area, which is bullish until it acts as resistance. So if this acts as resistance and gets the lower low, then that's a warning sign that we're going to be having a trend bound move. Whenever you see a valley area act as support or resistance, prepare. That's like one of the rules for trend bound moves to make sure that you're not getting stuck in the range or you're not jumping in on a fake out. Valley areas protect you from fake outs. Okay, so that's B&B. Mainly short-term bullish, but overall, like, as we approach closer and closer to this valley area, prepare for resistance. We're already at a supply zone now. Like, this could induce the break to bring us back down to these lows. And if we do come back down to these lows, I hope we do come down a little bit lower first at 860s, get rid of that wick level, and then our price action structure won't be internalized anymore, and I'll make traders more confident and more volume will likely come in. That's B&B. I hope that helps you out. Okay, back to Bitcoin. Yeah, Bitcoin's curling up, getting close to that neckline. Do you use the Fib time zone tool? I have never heard of that. That sounds amazing. What are you talking about? I know there's a lot of Fibonacci or retracement type tools, like the trend-based Fib extension, Fib retracement, Fib channels, Fib spirals, all that craziness, but I never heard that one you're talking about. That sounds pretty cool. Wilder stop losses are always better for me. Oh, wider stop losses. Yeah, given that extra breathing room, it normally increases your win rate. Also understanding where the liquidity is, so you're not becoming a part of liquidity, is a good rule of thumb too. If you see liquidity that was just taken, or you know there's liquidity that's resting right here that hasn't been taken, then you wouldn't usually put your stop loss where a liquidity pool is, right? You'd want to be on, if there's a liquidity pool here, you'd want to be like guarded by the liquidity pool so it could be used to induce a reversal before you get stopped out. And the heat maps help you with that. Order books help you too. Order books, you can find limit orders like buy walls and sell walls. Use them as stop loss guards. But you normally want to have structure and confluence with those walls because those walls can be pulled, especially lately. They've been less and less trustworthy lately. I delete that wick. Can we look at near? I haven't looked at near in a while. We could do that. We used to have a member in the community that traded near all the time for range trading. So we did a lot of analysis on it in the past, but haven't looked at it lately. Yeah, you can see the last time I updated my Fib poll was the 1st of October. And it's crazy range that near's been in for a while. It's a great range trading asset, but the range is so big, you feel like you're swing trading when you jump in on it. Like it's a 31% range from the valley area low to the valley area high. The extreme low to the extreme highs is like 87%, but you're not going to capture that full 87%. It's not happening. But yeah, we got the right now. Last time we were looking at, we were preparing for the short-term long here into this high. We've been ranging in this range for 252 days, but we're at the valley area high now. So this is an area where in the macro positioning, you should be preparing for shorts or taking some profits on any longs you might have taken down here. So once we broke that momentum, got that bullish change of character, that warned us that we're going to rotate to the valley high. And now our positioning, we don't really have momentum because we went straight up. We do have a proper pullback here. So technically, this is the momentum with lots of negative space. And when we have negative space between the active momentum, we normally range until we tap it. But this is our bearish 4-hour change of character level right here. Oops, my bad, wrong level. There we go. Delete this. But I think that we could climb our way up a little bit more, maintain this regression trend. Keep sweeping liquidity from the highs. But we can prepare for an SFP off this high. It's a great location for it. We got previous value area lows here and our active value area high. We just pumped aggressively up here. So this is an unsustainable kind of price action. And normally we retrace and reclaim it all after we just made it, right? So it's vulnerable for a drop. Now looking at the hourly. Yeah. Really tight regression trend. Kind of got that head and shoulders vibe, but